You know, some stories just feel like they're straight out of a Hollywood movie. Well, this is one of them, except it's all real. We're about to dive into the world of the most glamorous, the most audacious, and maybe the most elusive gang of jewel thieves the world has ever seen, the Pink Panthers.
I mean, listen to that. That's how the police and the media talked about them. Not like your average crooks, right? No, they were seen as something almost mythical. A crew that was just operating on a totally different level, mixing high fashion with just unbelievable nerve.
And get this, that wasn't an exaggeration. 90 seconds. Their signature was pure speed. We're talking about heists worth millions of dollars, and they were in and out in less time than it takes to make a cup of coffee. It was like a perfectly choreographed ballet of crime. So let's start by figuring out who the people behind the legend really were.
All right, so let's pull back the curtain on this reputation. Who exactly were these ghosts in designer suits?
So what the authorities eventually figured out was this. The Pink Panthers, it wasn't one single gang. It was this huge, loosely connected network of thieves, mostly coming out of Serbia, Montenegro, and other parts of the Balkans. So you should think of them less like a formal company with a CEO and more like this fluid group of highly skilled pros who teamed up for jobs. And you know their background? That's really the key to the whole thing. A lot of these guys were ex-soldiers from the Yugoslav wars, and that experience gave them this totally unique skill set. I mean, we're talking about military-grade discipline under insane pressure and a strategic mind that they just applied to robbing jewelry stores. They weren't just thieves, they were tacticians.
And wow, did those tactics lead to some of the most legendary robberies in modern history. Seriously, these weren't just crimes, they felt more like performances, and each one was more daring than the last. Let's take a look at a few of their greatest hits.
Okay, so our story kicks off in London, 2003. A super high-end jewelry store gets hit for over £500,000 in diamonds. Now, during the investigation, the police find this massive blue diamond, but guess where it's hidden? In a jar of face cream. Yeah, you heard that right.
Does that sound at all familiar to you?
And just like that, a legend was born. The media, of course, went nuts for it, and the name just stuck. It was ripped straight from that classic Peter Sellers movie, where the stolen gem is hidden in the exact same way. The gang now had its iconic brand name, the Pink Panthers.
But they very quickly moved on from just clever movie references to these acts of just breathtaking audacity. Fast forward 4 years to Dubai, the Panthers decided to make an entrance that, trust me, nobody would ever forget.
And this heist just perfectly shows how they operated. They didn't sneak in through a back door, no. They drove 2 cars through the glass doors of a luxury shopping mall, smashed the jewelry store's display cases, grabbed the goods, and were gone. The entire thing, from start to finish, took less than 90 seconds. Just pure, high-octane efficiency.
Okay, but if you think that was bold, their job in Cannes was on a whole other level. I mean, this wasn't a smash and grab. There were no getaway cars crashing through walls. This was all about cold, calculated nerve. Picture this, a jewelry exhibition at the famous Carlton Hotel, right during the film festival, and a single man just walks in.
And he walked out with $136 million. No, that is not a typo. $136 million. It became one of the biggest jewel heists in history, pulled off by one guy with a gun. He just calmly walked in, took the gems, and walked out. The audacity, it's just almost unbelievable.
So the big question is, how? How did they keep pulling off these insane multi-million-dollar heists with police forces and high-tech security all over the world trying to stop them? Well, the answer is all in the prep work.
They basically had a 5-step playbook, and they stuck to it religiously. First, meticulous reconnaissance. I mean, they'd study police response times, map out every escape route for weeks. Then you had the flawless disguises and diversions. The heist itself? Always lightning fast. They had these multi-layered escape plans using things like speedboats or motorcycles. And finally, and this part is absolutely crucial, they had a sophisticated global network ready to go to quickly cut, smuggle, and sell the stolen jewels before anyone could trace them. And here's the kind of detail that just shows you they were on another level. They would literally go and paint benches outside a store with a wet paint sign. Why? So nobody could sit there and watch them scoping the place out or see the heist go down. It's such a small thing, right? But it shows this incredible level of planning and control. But you know, with a track record like this, you can't stay a ghost forever.
The sheer scale and, well, the audacity of what they were doing, it triggered this massive, coordinated international response.
I mean, just look at the map of their operations here. We are talking about a true global crime wave. The final count was something like over 200 robberies across 35 different countries. We're talking Europe, Asia, all over. This wasn't just a local problem. It was a full-blown global phenomenon.
So obviously the international law enforcement community had to do something. Interpol, the biggest police organization in the world, they set up a special task force with just one job: hunt down and catch members of the Pink Panther network. The fact that they needed a whole dedicated project for them, well, that tells you everything you need to know about the kind of threat they were.
And look, this wasn't just hype from the newspapers. This is a direct quote from Interpol. Even the people who were hunting them had to admit it. These were some of the most audacious thefts in criminal history. It's pretty rare for cops to talk about criminals like that.
And this really gets to the heart of it all. The Pink Panthers totally redefined what a high-stakes robbery could be. Their focus was almost never on violence. It was on the performance. You know, where traditional robberies use brute force, the Panthers used planning, speed, and intelligence. They preferred to perform a crime rather than just commit one. And what's really amazing is that they almost never killed anyone.
Which really leaves us with this one fascinating question. What makes a thief a legend? Is it just the amount of money they steal? Or is it something else? Is it the style, the intelligence, the sheer audacity of how it's all done? The Pink Panthers, they just completely blurred that line between being a criminal and being an artist. And they kind of force us to ask, where does a notorious reputation end and a strange, compelling legend begin?